Hi, folks. Chocolate Yoddah here, spelled Yoddah, because film studios are litigious. Today is Mother's Day 2023. And predictably, I started the day by going on social media and seeing that all mothers are wonderful and amazing and special and loving and caring and deserve everything all the time. I'm not surprised. It happens every year. My question is this: are all mothers wonderful? Is there no such thing as a bad mother? I mean, come on. Aren't there tons of examples of bad mothers out there? Aren't there mothers who are terrible to their children? Aren't there mothers who beat their children, neglect their children, use drugs in front of their children, are unsupportive, are uncaring, are unloving? Some are even homicidal. But I guess we don't count those. So let me bring my guest on. Hello, Ellen.
Hello. Perfect conversation. I wanted to have the same conversation. Hello to you, and thanks for letting me come up. But this is the conversation I wanted to talk about. Society doesn't want to talk about this. My mother's good, but I definitely wanted to talk about this, and that's what I wanted to talk about on my chat the whole month for motherhood or mother wounds. But this is something that society don't look at. We look at bad fathers, but they don't want to shine light on the fact that we have this. We do have this. But you have this nurturing mother who, no matter if she's a crackhead, a prostitute, or whatever, it's something about the nurturing and gravitating to your mother, regardless of what her life looked like. You want your mama. And so society doesn't talk about this. So I am just here for the talk. I am so glad you're talking about this. This is something society do not want to talk about.
Yeah, no doubt. And and it's part of an overall kind of theme that goes in America. I don't know about other countries, but I know that in America, well, for starters, it took over 50 years for Father's Day to become a thing after Mother's Day became a thing. And that right there is kind of a hint into how America views fathers. And the other thing is, all you have to do is turn on TV shows to just see, we went from Father Knows Best to the Al Bundy type, although I kind of like Al Bundy, but, everything is that dads are idiots and incompetent in commercials. That's the case almost always. If a father's involved, he's messing it up somehow, and I will throw out just a quick reality check is that single mothers ruin their children. Okay, if you look at all the statistics, mother and father produces the same good results as father alone, but when it's mother alone, the results on average are disastrous. More people in prison, more people on drugs, runaways, all sorts of problems come with single motherhood. And that's not my opinion. These are the hard, cold facts of the situation.
I wanted to talk to you about what you said earlier in America about the mothers and how the light is not shined on this. And when you mentioned fathers, they don't shine it on there. And so Father's Day is not really singly Father's Day month. They lumped graduation with it, but Mother's Day is solely Mother's Day. There's nothing else going on, maybe a little bit of graduation, but there's not lumped up with other stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know whether that's significant or not. It could be. I see your point there, but I just think it's interesting that in America there is a very, very easy and casual attitude about insulting men. and just in general. And of course, men are fathers, so it cascades through that as well. But it's this thing where I see memes all the time. Like I just saw one the other day where it was like, yeah, men never think about anything. I'm like, oh, really? That's interesting. So how is it that we built civilizations? Because women didn't do that, and I'm not mad at women for not doing that, because they had important jobs to do, right? Raising children and taking care of the home, which is the general paradigm of parenthood. Hey, that's an important job. And it's great that women do that, but let's not pretend that men are doing nothing. I don't understand this whole weird boomerang effect where we have to elevate women and crap on men at the same time.
So this is, I'm a traditional girl. I just turned 61 today. So I'm very traditional. And so what we don't have enough of, like talking to you and talking to two other guys I know, Hakeem and Chuck. You men get lumped together, hidden in the dirt because for some reason, I don't know. I know the reason. I think I know the reason, but you guys are not shining. And so dirt is overpowering you guys, but it's not enough of you coming out for fear of, I'm not saying you're fearing, for fear of being berated, for fear of masculinity. And I don't believe in all those stuff. And so when you say masculinity, when a woman, and I always have this thing when I talk on my show, is someone wants to throw loads of tomatoes at me. So throw the tomatoes, because what I see in this generation is you have women who don't want to listen to the male voice, who have not had men in home, who a male authority is just something they can't deal with because they never had it. You have a generation of women who date men, but they don't have men in the house, so they continue this legacy of, you don't need to do this, you don't need a man. You do need a man, but you don't say you don't need a man and center it around. You're not centering around sex, because you're obviously having sex, so you need a man for something. But when it comes around to saying that him building things and him being that man at home, I don't know. I'm unclear as to what you don't need him for. Are you saying that you don't need him to be in the house? You don't need him to be around the kids? I don't know what that don't need, but they're certainly not saying I don't need you for sex.
Yeah. Well, this is I think an outcropping of feminism 2.0. Because, the original feminism, which started way back in the 1800s, that was a justified version of feminism because women didn't enjoy all the rights that men did under the laws.
Right. That was a political one, not like what today is.
Right. And so what happens is that sometimes, just like healthy cells turn into cancerous cells, healthy movements can turn cancerous as well. And that, because at this point in American evolution, so to speak, and let's call it American history. I'm not sure there's much evolving going on, but at this point in American history, literally women have every right that men do and some that men don't. And that's fine. That I don't think that's anything to complain about. On balance, it's all equal, right? There's nothing that a man can do that a woman cannot do, and that's the way it needs to be. That's a true and just society that operates that way. I wish America operated that way on all levels, but it doesn't. But that's another conversation. But you have a situation where, when the women's movement started to run out of steam after the 70s, their donations were down, and people were realizing, okay, maybe this is a vestigial organization that's no longer needed in society. That's when the focus changed to, oh, men are terrible. The patriarchy and toxic masculinity. And there's an organization called RAINN, RAINN, RAINN.org, which is the premier organization that protects women in American society. And they say that the concepts of toxic masculinity and rape culture are wrong and harmful. Okay, that's what these people, whose only job it is to protect women, that's what they say. Okay, and I tend to believe them, because there is no such thing as rape culture. Rape happens, of course, and it's horrendous. I've known rape victims. It is the worst thing that one human being can do to another human being, in my opinion. Okay? It's worse than murder, because when you murder someone, their problems are over. When you rape someone, their problems have begun, and they tend to last forever. Well-meaning people have tried to kind of create a paradigm and suggest that America is a culture of rape when there's nothing that supports that idea. Again, I'm not denying that rape happens. I'm not denying that there are men who rape. I mean, in my opinion, all rapists that are convicted rapists need to be put under the jail and kept there forever. I'm fine with that. I have no sympathy or compassion for rapists. But to suggest that America is a rape culture is incorrect.
Do you think that the reason why they're saying that is lumping to bringing people from Africa, raping and also causing them to have incest and all that? Do you think they gathered that rape from there, and also splitting of not embracing culture, but to bring everyone and strip them of their culture? Do you think that's the rape that they're talking about?
Probably not, but that is a fair point. I think, again, it's just hyperbole in order to further a cause, right? Because, like, if you look at the things that the women's movement is complaining about now, essentially none of it exists. The gender gap is not a thing. It's one of those things that requires nuance and understanding in order to fully flesh out. For instance, is there a gender wage gap? Yes, on the top line, meaning the average man makes 20% more than the average woman. That's true. But if you then go on to say that that is an indication of a patriarchy and some kind of plot against women, that is absolutely incorrect, because it doesn't account for the fact that women take different types of jobs than men do. Women don't take dangerous jobs. Women don't put in as many hours as men. Women don't negotiate for salary increases like men do. These are all facts, and these all contribute. When you have a man and a woman in the same job, they are getting the same pay. That is a fact. So when you boil it down, there's about 2% of the gender pay gap that's unaccounted for in human behavior, but 98% of the pay gap is accounted for in the choices that men and women make. And there's no plot. There's no sinister thing going on. There is no patriarchy.
So why do you think that they're making our society? Where'd you say you were from?
I didn't, but originally I'm from the Dominican Republic.
Okay, and that's where you're born and raised at. And I'm getting to a point. Is that where you're born and raised at?
I was born there, and I was moved to America when I was 2. So I've been in America 57 years now.
Because I know that I was born here in America, and I know that I wanted to. I know my time is going out, so I wanted to
You can
start
come
like
back on.
being a military. Thank you, being a military wife and traveling. I didn't travel a lot outside, but I wanted to say that I know that our culture is different here in America. It's different, like where we go, if you're people of color, how you're treated and different things like that. But I wanted to hone in the American side because I've had military friends who were Dominican, and when they came here, they were told that what's your parent? Who's black? And they say who's black, and then they say no, you are black Dominican. So I think a lot of deterioration with the breakdown of culture, breakdown of gender, the breakdown of all that stuff that we in America we play close attention to that and not do real observation on individual people for just being humans. And so that's a lot of things that we get to talk about when you're talking about the family, when it comes to mothers and mothers standing in the gap. When you lose nowadays, when you lose a mother to maybe her lifestyle or like maybe drugs or something like that, and you lost a big monarch in the family because the women usually hang on in there. And so with that, we get to see society crumble. We need to have the men to stand who are not standing in general, who are not standing and say, this woman is berating me, but I'm going to stand so that I can stand and just let her say what she's saying. And I'm going to stand and get the point. And that's what I do, like here when men come up and talk. And I notice that men come up and talk, but when it comes to talking to a man, like say here on Wisdom or any other talk show, they want to talk about sex and different things like that. But to have a common talk, they don't want to talk about that. So I'm finding that men saying that women don't want to talk.
There are some prevailing misunderstandings that are constantly going on in America, and it's refreshing to have someone that can take a nuanced view of things. And I'll share one statistic with you that I find interesting, and I think it's germane to what you just talked about. Men are blamed for breaking up families all the time, and yet it's women that are doing that. 68% of divorces are initiated by women, and that number jumps to over 90% if the women are college educated. So anywhere from roughly 70% to 90% of the time that a divorce happens, it's initiated by a woman. So how is it that a man is breaking up the family if the women are the ones seeking divorces? And by the way, I don't view marriage as anything special. It's a bad idea that's badly executed, but that is a real statistic. And I just think it's interesting that men get all the blame and none of the credit, because as I said, we're the ones building civilizations. We're the ones putting out the fires. We're the ones policing society. We're the ones inventing almost everything. There are very few female inventors out there. And I don't say that as a criticism. Again, I'm a big believer that it's not controversial that men and women are different. I don't have a problem with the fact that men and women are different. I'm like the French, vive la différence, right? I'm all for it. But this constant desire to vilify men is a problem in American society.
Yeah, I see that too. But what I also see, I'm a baby boomer. I don't know if you're a baby boomer. So we have baby boomers and those that are before us. We have men who have not been taught how to be men. Those baby boomers who had uncles, nieces, and all that stuff, uncles, aunties. This generation don't have uncles and aunts that they're to pour into them. Yes, we still have people on the street that try to treat them, but where are the uncles and the aunts? So we see these where we got these men now, where they're in general, not as a whole, where they are afraid to step up and be men. They're afraid to just like, okay, look, you don't have to say, look, I'm a man, but it's the conversation and the communication that has not happened. And then the man ends up walking away and not standing, because you could tell that woman, she can hear you as you listening. If you're not listening to what she's saying, then you're not hearing. Then there's a confrontation, and then they're saying that that's masculinity, and but you haven't said nothing to her to listen.
Well, let me see if I can unpack what you're saying. When you say men walk away from what?
Men walk away from the confrontation of talking. If you would stand there and listen to her and understand, yeah, she has a problem with me. Let me listen to the problem. Let me find out what she's saying to me. Things will go by gently. And I'm speaking from a standpoint of a woman. So what happened with those generations going forward, those last of the 80s, the 90s, they don't stand for that. They don't know how to be men. They don't know how to stay in the fight and understand that this woman, part of this is because I hurt her. Part of this was she was already hurt. So if you would listen, and that's what it is. Y'all not masculinity. There's no masculinity problem. The problem is authority. She has a problem with authority. If she was raised up with no man in the house, and some people say that might not even matter, but I think I came from a home with my mom is deaf, meaning she, she can't hear, and my dad was hearing and speaking. So I lived in a loving home with mom and dad in the house. So for me, that looks different. I don't understand what it is like to not have a man around. I don't understand that a woman doesn't understand that the male is the authority figure, and to not back away from that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I buy into the idea that men don't know how to be men. I think that men are kind of under siege right now. Um, and I don't give men any breaks on this. Like when a man says something like, "She's not letting me be a man," I counter with, "You don't know what being a man is if you think someone has to give you permission to be a man." So, I don't know if it's a shortage of manhood that's an issue. I think that American society has it's never really been a great society, but the challenges that are in existence right now are pretty detrimental in the long term. Like I don't see how making enemies of everybody is a good tactic or a good strategy. Um, the conversation broadened out as it usually does on wisdom. I wanted to just focus on the idea that not all mothers are great mothers. And for those people who feel the same, I wanted to kind of be able to give you an opportunity to hear someone else say that so that you don't feel alone. So that's food for thought. Peace, love, and granola. Talk to you soon.